Welcome back, everybody. How are we doing today? This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and we are back for another Manchester United News Roundup. But it's not going to be fun. This is not going to be a fun little news show because it's not been a whole lot of a fun news day. We're not getting a lot of great news. In fact, we're getting a lot of really shit news right now. And so I'm going to get your thoughts on that, obviously, your reactions to some of the late breaking news, because we have suffered a major injury, bro. Not one, not Licha, not two, not three. We've suffered four new, fresh injury blows just this week. So we're going to talk about that. We also got some big news today regarding Ineos and United trying to get a handle on these finances by bringing in yet another person to take a look at these things. So we're going to talk about that. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of tempers. We're going to get a lot of reactions. Danny Boy in the house is already kind of setting the tone here for what we can expect right now. But we're all kind of bumming. So hit the like button for me too. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, you guys. Check the membership perks if you haven't yet. There's a lot of interesting, fun little ways you can get more involved in those perks. So check those out. Let's get stuck in. Let's get this shit out of the way right now. So bit of breaking news this morning, including just some fresh news literally within the last hour that United is going to be without four first-team players for our match tomorrow against Spurs. So Laurie Whitwell initially reported that Kobbie Mainoo, Manuel Ugarte, and Toby Collier, so literally three of our main, you can argue our three main midfielders in that pivot right now, have all suffered injuries in training this week. Mainoo's injury in particular is expected to keep him out for more than a couple weeks, according to Whitwell. Ugarte, Collier are not as serious, but they are all still major doubts for tomorrow. So that's fun. So that was how the stream was supposed to just go, right? Like we were supposed to talk about that. But then literally as I'm prepping, as I'm getting everything ready and I sit down and refresh and look through the news, we got another fun announcement from Fabrizio Romano. And he reports that Amad Diallo is set to miss the rest of the season with an ankle injury. It's just shit right now, man. Chris Wheeler specifies that it is an ankle ligament issue, which I know all about. You guys remember I wasn't even doing a stream for like a month and a half in the spring because I suffered ankle ligament tear playing footy one day. Couldn't even go up and down the stairs, could barely walk for a month, let alone a couple. So that's not fun. It must have been a pretty serious tear if it's going to be done for the next 3 months because, ligament tears, mine wasn't even a contact injury. I was just literally stepped on a giant crack in some pavement. My ankle just like buckled, but then I heard it crunch. I felt it crunch and then just immediately couldn't stand. So that was non-contact. I don't know what happened in training, but these all happened in training. So again, he is expected to be unavailable for the next 3 months. Basically means season's done. Mainoo gone for a couple weeks. Licha out for the season with ACL. Amad done for the season with an ankle ligament issue. Collier, Ugarte all set to probably miss tomorrow as well. I don't know what this means for our midfield. I put out that poll earlier, if you guys saw, and that was just off the back of the Collier, Mainoo, Ugarte news. But I don't know what to do now with Amad because that completely changes any of these options for the 10 or the wingback role. Does that mean Eriksson and Casemiro? Let me put a little poll out here and see what you guys might be thinking here. And then you guys can let me know. How's everyone doing today besides the news? Because it is we got some crazy snow where I'm at right now, but I haven't gone out and shoveled yet because it's just still going. So I don't want to bother shoveling if it's just gonna keep snowing, right? What's the point in that? So you guys let me know what your midfield paired for me tomorrow. You notice I didn't put Bruno and Eriksson up there because I don't think any of us want a midfield pivot of Bruno and Eriksson. I think that's just not a good look. But you guys let me know. I'm going to turn this light up just a little bit because that's as high as it goes. It looks really dark. That's weird. Let me get the chat seeing how we're going here. Box in the chat. How are we doing today, Box? Good to see you. Lionhearts, big up as always. box, as it's good to see a few youngsters get called up. Lionhearts is just now catching up to the news. Yeah, Lionhearts, we're just reporting the news today. Obviously, we got Collier, Ugarte, Mainu all injured. Mainu doesn't look like it could be more than a couple weeks, hopefully, but then the big news was Amad Diallo is out for the season with an ankle ligament injury. So that's gonna be fun. Yeah, Lionhearts is playing catch up. Yeah, we're playing catch up right now. So I don't know what that means for our midfield. I don't know what that means for the 10. Obviously, we got Dorgu in, so that would have maybe freed Ahmad up for the 10, but Ahmad's not here now. So Eriksson and Casemiro probably looking like the likely pair. Bruno probably going to be one of those 10 roles alongside Garnacho. Maybe Bruno and Casemiro with Xerxes as a 10, perhaps. That could be an option too. But obviously, Dorgu and Dallo are probably going to rock that wingback role. But let me see what everyone got. Danny's. I held off on reading these right away, Danny, because I wanted to get through some of the stuff first. But Danny's got thoughts. So the relegation battle is on. Thanks to Ineos for not replacing Rashford and Antony. Could have easily found something on loan in Brazilian market while their season has ended, just like Everton done. Yeah, Danny's not happy. He could have easily loaned Nepal loan obligation or any decent prospects in Championship, but we didn't do shit. Yeah, Danny, it's very, very frustrating. Danny says Everton smart loan with option and windows sign Alvarez. Yeah. Liner says, obviously, I didn't know about Manu, Collier, and Ugarte. Yeah, man, it's not pretty. And honestly, this couldn't have come at a worse time. This not only is it just kind of it stings because it's just right after the January window closes, right? So obviously, the timing it's almost comical, the timing of this all. But it is frustrating too because, like Danny's saying, like, why didn't we? We can ask why, right? We all know why. You know, the PSR, the money's not there. It wouldn't have mattered who the owner was. We literally weren't allowed to spend any money. Now that I've said before, and I said in like that video from last week, that doesn't mean I don't think Ineos could have done more during the first half of the season and in leading up to January and even in January to get more funds by trying to maybe push for more sales and whatnot. It seems like, I mean, it's hard. You can't plan on 4 first teamers getting injured all at once like this either. Like this literally just happened like within like today. So I hear every side. I'm just as frustrated as you guys with this situation. It's just the situation itself is just a shit show. And it's just not ideal. Again, we couldn't afford to do a whole lot. What we did in January is probably all we could have done. And so it's frustrating. It's just, I mean, if you want to be mad at anybody for not being able to spend in January, you've got to get mad at the Glazers, Woodward, Arnold, Murtaugh, not David Gill. I forget the other guy's name. And Ineos, yeah, they could have probably done more, like I said, throughout the first half of the season to plan ahead for this. If Rashford wasn't in the plans, if he wasn't in the squad for 3 months, we should have been pushing for a permanent deal in January. If he's not part of the plans, we should have done it. Now, he could raise his value. I get that. But at the same time, if you want to build, if you want to back your manager, it's probably better to have some funds now than to wait another 6 months. Because, yes, while you can't plan on anything, it's nice to have a little bit of a cushion. So now there are options. There are options right now. I think free agency is still maybe a thing. And obviously, what this also means is that there are some youngsters. So I realized we couldn't afford to do a whole lot, but what we can't afford is to keep dropping points in the league. Losing 5 first-team players when you look at Licha, 2 of whom are going to be gone for the season with Licha and Ahmad, that has the potential to not only derail everything that Amorim has been trying to do with the very short time and training that he's had in recent weeks, but it also has a really strong chance of derailing the season entirely. We're already down in 13th, 14th right now. And you have a big match against Spurs tomorrow that we have to win. We can't afford not to win. And we just lost arguably our best defender in terms of Licha, and we lost our best attacker right now in Ahmad. And then we've lost 2 young midfielders, yes, but our 2 midfielders that have been seeing a lot of minutes recently. So it's so annoying. Lionheart says, did they all get injured during training? Yep, they did, man. Danny says relegation battle is on. Danny says weekend loan. Is the loan window still open? Is that what's going on? Let me look this up. Loan window January. Maybe it helps if I spell it right. I mean, I thought everything was done. Like you can't do anything after the window closes, not even loans. But if that's not true, you guys let me know. Danny says the way Rashford played today and continue that, Villa easily give us the 40 million plus. I didn't watch the Villa game. I had the City Newcastle game on in the background because I thought that maybe Newcastle would at least put up a little bit of a fight, but they definitely did not put up a fight. Did Rashford do anything today? Let me look at his rating here. Oh, he had a decent rating, huh? Well, keep playing like that, man. Same with Anthony. Keep playing like that, and we'll be fine. Lionheart says we should be angry at Mr. Gill for leaving when he did. I told you guys that on the tram from Manchester to where we were to the airport, David Gill and his wife were on the tram. I almost approached him, but the tram was pretty busy and it was packed and it was shaky. I almost went up to him and told him like, "Hey, any chance you could just come help us out in January for the rest of the month?" But I did not because that would be awkward. And you guys know I'm not super like that. Then is I should be angry at Sir Alex Lammers for getting in bed with the Glazers all over a horse. I mean, he didn't necessarily get in bed with the Glazers, to be fair. He just had a falling out with the guy who allowed the Malcolm Glazer to have basically his shares in the club. So if you want to get mad at Sir Alex for anything, get mad at him for falling out with somebody over a horse. But he didn't get in bed with the Glazers. You can't control who owns the club. It's not. I mean, it is what it is. Box is throwing out some lineup options. Onana, Rawi, Delit, Yoro, Dallo, Casemiro, Fernandez, Dorgu, Xerxes, Garnacho. Yeah, it's interesting to see what this midfield is because you could play Xerxes in the 10. I think that Bruno and Garnacho could play in the 10s, Casemiro, Eriksen midfield, but then you have no options for rotation, which really is the problem right now. Rashford played well. Interesting. Yeah, I did not watch that one. So that brings us to the youngsters because we have seen some youngsters that have been training with the first team this week. Amorim confirmed that Cheeto was one of them. But it seems that James Scanlon was one of those as well. And then it also looks like that youngster Jack Morehouse has traveled with the first team squad for Spurs as well. So a couple other options that we might not have any choice now other than to feature these youngsters. The youngsters did play. The under-18s played Newcastle this morning. It was a 0-0 draw, but again, no Cheeto, no Scanlon, obviously no Morehouse in that squad because it looks like they're all involved in the first team. Now, whether they're going to feature in the squad or not, I can't tell you, but I know that it seems like they all have at least been in and around the squad. On that game this morning, I don't know if you guys watched the youngsters play. I was watching it. We did struggle a little bit to play out from the back. Newcastle were cutting off those passing lanes really, really well. They were they were setting up kind of in a kind of, I guess you would call it like a resting press, kind of like what Liverpool did against us early in the season, where they camped out a bunch of players between our midfield and defense to really block off those lanes and press on those certain triggers. Phil Jones was there, so if you know right now, Phil Jones is working on his coaching badges, so he's been working in and around the youngsters as well. So it's cool to see him getting involved. So it was 0-0. A couple standouts. Jim Thwaites, I thought, looks really good. He seems to be in charge of a lot of the dead balls, and he has really good delivery. Camison looked really, really good, had a really good recovery run, pretty much to save us a goal from conceding. Ibrahimov, always lively, always getting involved, never shies away from kind of getting stuck in. Fletcher, but Fletcher always looks good when he plays. He's just really in that deeper kind of playmaking role. Fletcher is just, at this level, he almost is way too good. He's not quite good enough for first team, but he looks really good. Shea Lacey got some minutes again after coming back from injury as well. So big up the youngsters for doing it this morning. Oh, let's see. Danny says Maz has to play in mid with Cassius. I mean, and that's the thing. It's nice that maybe we could see somebody maybe move around a little bit if necessary. It's just our options are just so limited. It's really annoying. I'm so frustrated. I'm trying to stay lively, stay sharp, and kind of keep it going, but it's really, really frustrating right now. Box says subs: Harrison, Amos, Maguire, Lindelof, Heaven, Erickson, Morehouse, Obi Martin. Yeah, Amos. I'm really not convinced about Amos so far. He's really good on the ball, but he's just like, um, yeah, he didn't play this morning, Danny. He's just so physically. He's just so slight. He gets bullied at the academy level. I can't see him doing really well in the Premier League. He'll get shoved into the stands like with one challenge. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just like Kone, Morehouse, Harrison, Amos. Yeah. Scanlon did train. Looks like with the or not. I can't say he trained. He wasn't in the under 18 squad this morning, Scanlon. So make of that what you will. Um, yeah, Danny. Yeah, that tackle from Camison that was game saving. That was beautiful. Says how unaffected the whole fucking midfield get injured. Like seriously, I don't know, man. Maybe were they all just kind of chilling and like a tree fell and happened? They were all just right standing next to each other and it happened to hit them all. Like I don't understand what happened. I really don't. Obviously, the ankle ligament that can happen. And like I said, when I did mine, I literally had pretty much the same injury from when it sounds back in the spring, and like I couldn't walk for like a month. That's why I didn't stream anything because I couldn't get up and down the stairs. And mine was no contact. I was playing footy, but I was just walking backwards and stepped on a big like the crack in the pavement was like this big between the levels, and I just happened to step on it. Whole ankle rolled and it sounded like a maraca, and my ankle just sounded like a big crunch, like I had stepped on a bunch of glass or something. It just the ankles are weird, it's just freaking weird how it does. Box says how intense was it? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't, man. All we got so far is the updates from some of the journos on that stuff. Tommy Rowe could step in. Anybody could freaking step in at this point. Let's get the kit man to come in and do something. Get that goalkeeping coach. Amorim rates him. And he says Kone, Morehouse, Fletcher probably mid that near ready, but they aren't. Yeah, I would take Kone. Could probably, I mean, just to get freaking some energy in midfield and just stuff like he'll press, like he'll do that. So Amorim out of retirement, yeah, maybe. Danny says, could we sign Pogba at this stage? Oh no, Danny, don't go there. Don't go there, Dan, and you don't mean it. You don't mean that. I'm not dissing Pogba. We got to move on at some point from Pogba. Why is this light just not? It seems so dark on the screen. Is it dark for you guys? Because it's not as bright as it usually is. I have this light turned all the way up. That's really strange. Anyway, so under 18s 0-0 draw, but Box says there was that talk Collier Ugarte face fitness test. Perhaps they'll be okay. Yeah, we're gonna see. I didn't see any updates since this morning. So I don't know where you saw that. There was now, yeah, the update from this morning did say that Collier and Ugarte are doubts. It didn't say that they were for sure going to miss, but I don't know. I don't know, man. Leinart says, I told you United are like Skyrim. Obviously, they all got arrows to them. Leinart, you mentioned that yesterday, and it was like, you know what? I haven't played that game in a while. I'm going to go turn that on and play for a little bit because why not? And I did, and it was awesome. So anyway, Rever, welcome back. Rever says, same. I did my ankle ligaments, jumping for a header, landed on my ankle, rolled it, and heard that crackling sound. Yep, that's exactly what it sounds like, man. It just it almost sounds like a light, like if you took bubble wrap and you kind of just lightly kind of squeezed it a little bit. It's kind of what it sounds. Just like the it's not fun. Box says so many injuries these days. Yeah, it is that time of the season. Usually when you only see these kind of injuries pop up when you're playing like FC or something, and you get around that mid-season mark, and all of a sudden you get all these random injuries in your squad, and they're all super serious. Arsenal having to play Marino Senefort. I mean, and hey, he got 2 goals, so it is what it is. Leinart says yes, best game ever. For a game to be out for like 12 years and people still modding it and people still playing it, I mean, that's pretty good. Danny says Alcaraz was a smart loan by Everton. Yeah, Everton were able to kind of come in and do that. Obviously, they've still got some of the money from who's that dude, the midfielder they just sold? I can't remember now off the top of my head. He went to Villa, I think. Danny says we could have used, and we could have done a lot of things. I think it's just a matter, again, just the money. So you look back now and you think priorities. Again, like I said, could we have pushed a little harder to get some permanent sales in January as opposed to just loans? I think that maybe we should have done that for like Malacia, or maybe we should have put an obligation in for Rashford so we can for sure get some money. It's just, again, it's easy in our frustration to point fingers and stuff. It's just I think like I said, right, for me, it's a crap situation. Just, it is what it is. It's these things happen. It's really annoying. And if we're going to blame anybody for not being able to strengthen, you got to look at the Glazers. Composed views. Welcome, man. How are you? This is what incompetence breeds. These suits knew we needed a rebuild with a manager that's had a specific tactic. They hired him. He has to come at the end of the season. They refused. Yeah, like I said, I mean, PSR limits us, but like there's also the onus and the responsibility is on Ineos to be proactive in finding ways to do that. And again, where was the plan? I'm not saying you can plan for injuries, but you have to plan for January. So maybe be proactive and a little bit more aggressive when it comes to selling players that aren't part of the plan. That's just what we need to do. Rever does not want Pogba. Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't like. I'm not like hating him. I'm done with Pogba personally. Danny says they're just paying his wages. Yeah. Yep. A lot of these guys are just getting their wages paid for us. So, I mean, it helps, but it's not what we needed right now. Rob, welcome back. Evening, all Man United players dropping like flies. Yep, it's a battle of it's El Injury Classic right now between us and Spurs. Just both players just dropping like flies for both teams. Rever says Pogba is the opposite of intensity and integrity, or energy. Sorry, what is intensity and integrity? That sounds familiar. Lionheart says seriously, I kind of think we need Pogba. The problem is we don't play the way that you're going to get the best out of Pogba anyway. Even let's say we did, like, we're not playing counterattack. We're not playing that way. So we're just Pogba dallying on the ball. You guys, I don't know if you forgot how very little press resistance Paul Pogba had in a deeper role. He lost the ball left and right because he wanted like 18 touches on it all the time. And you can't get away with that in this league. And then if we got caught on the counterattack, he's next to useless defending in that situation. Danny says, I don't either, but better than nothing at this stage. We'll be relegated. I hope not, man. I mean, we're all trying to hope, and we can all sit here and say like there's no way we're going to get relegated. But I'm very frustrated right now. If you can't tell, I'm trying not to just be all doom and gloom and trying to do something. And like Bach says, yeah, Papa can't play till March. His ban is over in March. United is finished. This feels sad. Says Composed View feels awful. Dead, rubbish. Ahmad, Manu, Ugarte. Don't forget Collier in there. Don't forget Licha. Like how? It's basically the players who are looking to build around all injured. Yeah. And the ankle thing, it's going to take a little bit to come back because I was told, like, don't play for like 2 months or don't do anything really for like 2 months. And so then I could start after that, as I felt better. You can walk a little bit, and it's still like not going to be another month or so till you can probably start playing. And even then, it's still not going to feel fully like recovered. It'll be pretty much, but it's still going to take. It's going to be kind of stiff and stuff. And so it's just, Rever says intensity, integrity, intelligence. That's what I was thinking of. Where did I hear that from? Oh, Kurt Angle. Wow, that must be from a while ago. That I must have a better memory than I thought because I haven't watched wrestling in like well over 20 years. That's interesting. Big up though for reminding me where I got that from. Box says I hope Collier is fit. I like his neat, tidy play. Offers some physicality, energy. Yeah, I mean, I like Collier. I think he's at an age where he really should be playing more regularly. Not only pressure on us to play him, but pressure on him. Like he's at an age where he kind of needs to show what he's a little bit about. He can't be playing in the resis anymore. He's got to be playing first team football for us somewhere, similar to like when Garner was here. Composed, but I do like Collier. His reading of the game is impeccable for that age, for such a young player, positioning wise, getting stuck in, kind of just knowing where to be, like very, very good. Composed View says, at this stage, I'd take us getting relegated to get these clowns out of the club. Seriously, better bite the bullet now than die a slow, painful death. Liner says, I get what you're saying, but beggars can't be choosers. Yeah, beggars can't be choosers, but if Ineos didn't like the whole 29, 30-year-old Casemiro deal on whatever much we're paying him a week now, what is it, $375? They're definitely not going to be bringing in Pogba because what are you going to do? I don't think Pogba can hang at this level anymore. The guy's not played football in like a year. He was already not really at the pace that I thought we needed. And he doesn't suit the system anymore. Like, he just doesn't. And we're going to have to pay him a buttload. So let him go to MLS, let him go to Saudi League or something, where he'll get paid a bunch and he can be fine. He'll thrive in those. Then he says, was that same injury Ahmad had under Eric Ten Hag? I think it was under Ten Hag, wasn't it like his knee or something, or his calf? I can't remember off the top of my head, but apparently the report said Ahmad had this injury now for a little bit. So maybe it sounds like it's something that he had. We didn't do anything about it, and it kind of made it worse. So Dark Row is back. Welcome back, Dark Row. Our fan base will still tell you not to rush young players when we need them the most. Yeah, and again, we talked about that the other day, right? When I shared my 5 steps to saving the season, and one of those 5 steps was play the kids. And again, one of the points I made, like you're saying, there are always going to be those fans. You have on one side, play the kids, and you have the other side, like, you're going to kill their confidence if you play them in these situations. I hear both arguments. I get it. Both are valid points. It's just right now we're kind of in a like Leinart says, beggars can't be choosers situation. So I'd rather play the youngsters than bring back Pogba, if that makes sense. Danny says, Dr. Death and his medical staff need to be sacked. Leinart says, what about giving him a pay as you play like Owen had till the end of the season? Again, it isn't my choice. For me, it's almost a little bit like just part of it. I'll admit part of it is I'm just tired of the Pogba joke of a transfer situation. The whole losing him for free, buying him for a record fee, losing him for free again, plus the circus that he was with his agent when he was here and stuff. I'm just done. I just want to be done with that, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not interested in doing that again. The only part that would make it worth it to me, Lionhearts, is just to see the look on Graham Stuna's face every single week when Pogba plays. Compose View says, I'd rather get players in the championship than Pogba. He's not the ideal character to bring in when you're trying to get rid of these rotten ones. Forget his supposed skill set. Now, here's the thing. Like, I don't know how different these rules are between La Liga and like the Premier League, but like, if Barcelona can go, I just like randomly thought about this as we were talking about this stuff. If Barcelona can go pull all these levers and get all these situations to bring in players on an emergency basis, can we not do the same? Can we not try to make that work for us in some way? Bring in at least like one player looking at the emergencies in the squad right now. Is that not allowed? You guys let me know if that's a thing. Darko says Casemiro can break plays if we utilize him doing just a specialized job of play breaking. I think honestly Casemiro's best role now is playmaking rather than play breaking. He can mentally he can know what to do. It's just his body just can't do it. He can't break up play because he's just too slow. He can't make recovery tackles very well. He can't chase people down on a counterattack anymore. He's always going to ground when he does make a challenge. He's always a yellow card waiting to happen. I think that he's his best. What we've seen from him this season is he's a little better when he's playing up a little higher up the pitch, and he's actually got a pretty decent passing range too. So that's just my opinion, though. That's just from what I've seen. Rever says, what's your lineup prediction tomorrow? Now, my lineup prediction going. We have a little poll going in the chat and who you guys would like to see in the pivot. Let me see what you guys have saying. Right now, 78% of you want it to be Bruno and Casemiro in the pivot. So what does that mean? Eriksen up front a little higher then? Garnacho and Eriksen up front a little bit? But I don't have a prediction. I usually let you guys help me pick the predictions out, or like when Dylan came on the other week, I let him pick that one. Casemiro boxes. Casemiro in that Palace game, we lost 4-0. He wasn't breaking down anything yet. And against Liverpool, Casemiro struggled. I think Casemiro just struggles, like I think Pogba would, to keep up with the pace of the game right now. Leonard says, I just want this season to be done. Yeah, I do too. Danny says, breaking eggs and cooking breakfast, all he's good for now. Yikes. Lionheart says, yeah, Cass can definitely break plays, our own fucking plays. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, Casemiro is just, and it's not necessarily all just Casemiro kind of slowing down. I think that we've said for years, like the Premier League is just fast paced, but I think in the last couple of years, especially, the Premier League has even gone to another level in terms of pace, intensity, the pressing you're going to get from opposition. How teams didn't used to press as aggressively and as energetically and as strongly as even in like in the last 3 years as they have in the last couple of years. Like it's just you have to be able to run for 100 minutes basically and run at a top level now. You have to be able to do that, and if you can't, you're going to very quickly be left behind. Leonard says, I think United should just pull a sickie tomorrow. If you could. Oh, man. If we manage to get anything from this game, even if it's just a draw, like, I'll consider that a win at this point, given the context of everything. Danny says, blame Ragnick. Don't blame Ragnick. Oh, man. Darko, I didn't miss your comment. I just sometimes when I see you guys are talking to each other and you're not really talking to, like, everybody, I just kind of let you guys have that conversation because I don't want to, like, it's because you guys are having a conversation at that point. It's not up to me, right? So it's not that I missed it. I just looked like you guys were talking to each other, not so. That's all. Rob says, who is the youngster we got from Palace? Never hear him mentioned. Oh, what's that dude's name now? LaSalle, right? Yeah, the young attacker. I forgot all about him. Good memory, Rob. I can't remember where he went. What is his name? Something LaSalle or something. I can't. James LaSalle, I want to say. I don't remember now off the top of my head. Whoever says Casemiro is good for one season, 60 million transfer plus 60 million 4-year contract for a player past his prime. Bad business. Yeah, we're dropping about 18 mil a year in wages for Casemiro, so it's just like it was not a good transfer all around. It just really wasn't. Darko says, for a draw, we should play more defensive tomorrow rather than lose, and I don't get anything from the game. Yeah, I think it's hard. Again, you're coming back to the whole debate going on right now. Should Amorim kind of shore things up for the season, even if that means not playing his system, or should he, just keep playing his system no matter what? It's really hard. We're seeing how stubbornness can cost you. Like Bielsa only had the one trick and just struggling. We're struggling right now. I think there's more to it to us right now than just sticking with the system. Obviously, we sack Ten Hag. You don't sack a manager mid-season if things are going well. Plus, we've all been slating a lot of these players for a while, and that's a factor that plays into it too. So, Danny says LaSalle is not even starting for the 18s. Yeah, not everyone's going to be that. It is what it is. Not everyone's going to come through and be, the Mainus and the Garnachos or the class of 92s. A lot of these youngsters really are here just to be sold. That's just the way it is sometimes. Combo's View says, these suits are definitely not competent to explore options to help this team. It feels like the corporate culture is rotten and it filters to the sporting culture. It's about money, no passion. Well, right now it is about money, but it's not about money going into Sir Jim's pocket because he hasn't pocketed anything. In fact, Sir Jim has put 300 million of his own money into the club. Right now it's about we're bleeding cash. We're struggling with PSR. We're running a risk of facing some penalties if we don't find ways to stop just bleeding cash right now. And we have to find a way to put a cork in that, because if we don't, it could get worse. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but it could get worse if we don't find ways to do that, which is why, like we're going to talk about today as well, we brought in someone else. We're getting set to hire PSG's financial guy right now. So Rob says Dan Gore is on loan as well. I think he just got injured too, Rob. We talked about that yesterday, I think. Lionheart says, can we get an injury bounce? Does that exist? No, it doesn't. Who knows? Maybe Mason Mount will come back. You never know. Wouldn't that be just tidy? Darkrow, we're the class of 92 overhyped. I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Darkrow. I'm really not going to dignify that with a response. I'll let the chat handle that one. But no, they were not overhyped. Rob's, there's going to be a bench full of youngsters tomorrow in Lindelof. It probably will be. Because we don't have hardly anybody fit. Maybe Evans. I haven't heard anything about Evans in a minute. Trying to think now off the top of my head who else. Obviously Dorgu. It's probably going to be Mazraoui, Delit, like Dorgu, maybe Maguire on the bench. Maybe it's just like ridiculous, man. Lionheart says, yeah, class of 92 were our backbone. Now, like I said before, the class of 92, we even say it themselves. It wasn't just the class of 92. Like, it wasn't just them. They came in, and this is why I said the other day, like, we need a balance of older players. Class of 92 came in. They had Schmeichel, they had Robson, they had Cantona, they had Pallister. They had all these guys, Marc Hughes. We had these guys playing with them, Steve Bruce and whatnot. Like, it was a balance because you need to learn. You need players who are there to help carry the experience load and everything, like, and that leadership and stuff. You have to have a balance. Composed View says Amorim should keep playing his system. It's what is brought in for. Anyone blaming him is mistaken. Yeah, I think that, like I said in that video the other week on 5 ways to save the season, I think there are small things he can do, but they don't involve necessarily changing the system. Packing the midfield a little bit with like a 3-1-4-2 or like a 3-1 or a 3-4-1-2, I think can make a little difference. Upping the tempo, playing 1-2 touch rather than the horseshoe passing pattern that we're trying to play to invite presses and make switches. I think little things like that. Stop experimenting with starting 11, for instance. Although now that's coming out the window because we have no choice now. Then he says, I'm trying to spin a positive. Injuries will give opportunity to the youth and push this shit out once we stay in the relegation zone, hopefully. Composed View says, more likes for the channel. I appreciate that, Composed View. I really do. But yeah, hit the like button if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to get involved. Composed Class of 92 has senior players in it from. Exactly. Play Maz in the 6 with Ericsson, Bruno, Garnacho in the 10s. There's a lot of options. Does Maz play in the 6 ever? He played in the 10. Maybe he can be the 10 for us. Dorgu, Dalla, wingback, Yoro, Maguire, De Ligt. Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could even play Dorgu a little. If Dorgu can play on the right wing for Lecce. Now, he wasn't just like a wing back. There were times when Lecce played a 4-2-3-1 and Dorgu was actually on the right wing. Maybe there's a chance he could play in the 10 a little bit as well. That could be an option too. Dylan, welcome, Dylan. Oh, good to see you, man. Europa League or bust. I'm thinking it's leaning more towards or bust these days, Dylan, but it's good to talk to you, man. Darko says Class of 92 had Neville, brother, Nicky Butt, Beckham, and Giggs. Yep, they did. Don't forget Scholesy. And technically Giggsy was there before them. Giggsy got his start a little bit ahead of time because he's a little older. Giggsy was. People who don't rate Giggs as a player either too young to watch him play or they just don't know ball. It just is what it is. One of my favorite players growing up. Lionheart says I do like Mags in the middle with De Ligt on his right. Yeah, I think. You never know what to expect now with Spurs. Obviously, they play quick pace. Is Maguire the best to handle some of that quick attacking from them? I mean, at this point, we don't really have a choice, do we? It just is what it is. Rob says, saw elsewhere that Danny Welbeck might be our striker. So I have not seen that. I know that Jay Motti with Stretford Paddock wants us to always sign Danny Welbeck. He was decent when he was here, and then he loves to score against us. And literally every club he's played at since he left, he's scored against us, and so that's cool. Ever says a combination of the Class 92 and captains like Hughes, Keane, I forgot about Keane. Cantona, Schmeichel, Bruce, yep. Chalky, Mihalstra, yeah, it was all the perfect blend. Yeah, you have to have that balance. You saw what happened with Arsenal. Trust the process. They signed a lot of young players, and they're struggled because those players have no experience in fighting for a title. They have no experience in what that looks like, defending that, doing anything. They don't have that experience to go. You need experience because how are you going to pull your teammates through it when you have zero experience doing it? And Rever says, yeah, Fergie was also a great judge of character. Yeah, Fergie would always look at your character before anything. When there's that interview with Phil Jones that he did a couple months ago. He said when Fergie came and met with Phil Jones, he didn't ask him about football at all. He asked him about his social life, his school habits, his family, all that stuff. And Phil Jones said that was he really appreciated that. Dark Crow wants Maz and Ugarte as a double pivot. I mean, I have no problem with it. Right at this point, it's just I have no idea what to expect tomorrow. I really don't. I'm sure Amorim is probably just turning gray as we speak. But yeah, Danny, as Danny says, Ugarte is a doubt tomorrow, Dark Crow, because he also got a little bit of a knock. But not in the 10, says Lionheart. Yeah, in response to Dylan Rever says chances of a cup is slim now. It really is. We're probably going to struggle against Fulham. I don't see us getting that one as well. Yeah, Darko, Ugarte is another one. Ugarte, Collier, Mainu, Ahmad, all injuries. Mainu looks like he's going to miss a few weeks. Ahmad's done for the season with an ankle ligament issue. Collier and Ugarte are major doubts. Box says, who said Class of 92 is overhyped? I'm not going to point fingers. You got to go figure it out. Because I don't want to pile on any hate. Then he says, looking like that, yeah, Darko, Collier too. Yeah, dude, it's not looking good right now in midfield. Lionheart says, so how long are they all injured for? Has that been announced? So Ahmad's done for the season, Lionheart's. Like I said, got an ankle issue, probably a couple of months, at least 3 months, they said. Manu could miss a couple weeks. Collier and Ugarte don't sound as serious, but they are classified as major doubts. So at worst case scenario, they miss a couple weeks as well. Best case scenario, they maybe start on the bench. I'd imagine maybe they might not make the squad tomorrow as a precaution, but right now we don't really have options. So maybe they might be on the bench in an emergency basis. We might have to use them. Darko says, Class 92 proved only in the PL, except Beckham in the La Liga. I mean, we can all have that's a whole separate conversation. I mean, at that time when the Italian league was literally the best league in the world, arguably, they were clubs literally like Inter, whatever, trying to get Paul Scholes to come join them, trying to get Roy Keane to come join, and they didn't. So at that time, the Italian league was the league to be in, and those clubs were coming in for these players, and they just didn't want to go. And that's just what it is. Box says, must be an Arsenal fan. Danny says, we all know why Arsenal ran him now. Oh, the doctor. Yeah. Rob says, Giggs won Champions League twice. A lot of our players won the Champions League twice. Paul Scholes won the Champions League twice. Gary Neville won the Champions League twice. Because we used to win things. We don't win a whole lot anymore these days. Rivers says, Class 92 won a Champions League, beating Barcelona, Bayern, Inter, and Juventus along the way. And we didn't have Scholes or Kino for that final either, and we still won. So, Kino, if you guys ever want to watch Masterclass, you go watch Roy Keane play Juventus in that Champions League. Lionheart says, so we've lost another attacking option for this season. Yep, we did. And Danny's banging that relegation drum. All right. Let's move on to a little bit of transfer news because this computer's starting to run out of battery real quick. That's not good. And we still have a lot to go through today, but I do appreciate everybody getting involved. Keep hitting that like button. Keep subscribing to the channel if you are new. We are 40 minutes in, haven't even touched on the rest of the transfer news. Graham Bailey claiming this morning that United could be set to sign Victor Osimhen in the summer. He reports that we are still interested in Osimhen, and Osimhen is expected to leave Napoli in the summer when his loan with Galatasaray is done. Bailey also adds that Napoli are still interested in Garnacho, and they actually are holding an interest in Rasmus Højlund as well. This is according to Graham Bailey, so take it with some salt. But he does say there could be a deal that sees some players kind of change clubs either way. I'd rather send them Xerxes personally, but maybe he could probably go back and do well in Serie A. I'd also rather have Victor Gyökeres over Victor Osimhen personally, but again, with the Osimhen thing, it's like I don't know what the deal is. Obviously, he had a really good season at Napoli. Maybe he just wanted to move, didn't get it, kind of threw up a stink. But a lot of big clubs didn't come in for him. So there's got to be something going on there, right? So you guys let me know if you guys would take Osimhen. Is there who else would you rather have? Lionheart says, I don't know what's more confusing, the lack of options up front or the fact that someone is doubting Class of 92. Yeah, I mean, everyone's got an opinion. It is what it is, as incorrect as it can be. Sorry, Darkro. Danny says Spinios PR is the only thing that's best in class. In a bit of PSR news, got a little bit of an update this morning that we could actually make a little bit of money off Jadon Sancho. So this is where people need to really get their understanding of football finance to another level. And I'm not trying to be judgmental or bashing, but I'm just saying that there are levels to what we understand about how football finance, PSR, transfer fees, how all that works, because it's very easy to say we paid such and such for a player. Well, we don't. You amortize that, you pay the thing, and then it's broken down. And if you sell a player before you've paid all that off, you don't pay the full fee, basically. So what the report coming out this morning is that if we sell Jadon Sancho in the summer for $25 million, which we probably will, we stand to make a £10.5 million profit on that. As again, the remaining cost of his fee that's been amortized is just £14.6 million at the end of the season. So, selling him and getting his wages off the books, according to the report, will have a positive PSR impact of £30 million going into next period. So we are going to make $30 million on Sancho. Taking his wages off the book and selling him based on amortization of his contract this summer. this again, it's another little inside peek at just how intricate and how complicated sometimes transfer fees, PSR, all that works. So again, don't just look at the price for a player and say that's how much we spend. That's going to kill our budget. That's not how it works. And even if you buy a player for 80 million and you sell him for 25 million, depending on when in the contract that sale happens, you could actually still make money, just like we just broke down for you. So keep that in mind. Again, I'm not saying I'm an expert. Again, these are just the reports. There's so much going on. Like I pointed out in that video, the books that every United fan should read. There's that Price of Football book behind me by Kieran Maguire. It's basically a textbook, but it is very informative. So Rob says could have done with signing Tell. I mean, again, if we had done the deal for Tell, Rob, that Spurs had done, which we couldn't afford to do, we would get slated for it in the press because Spurs paid what, 10 million for him. They're paying his wages, and they have an option or something to sign him for like 60 million in the summer. If we had done that deal, again, there was no way we could even afford the 10 million fee to sign him on loan. We would get hammered for it left and right, especially if we made it permanent, and especially if he struggled. So I like Tell a lot. I wouldn't have paid 60 million for him, and really at the end of the day, it would have been the 70 altogether with the loan fee as well. I think that would be too expensive. But then he says this is where we could make a loan with an option in January. We had the Sancho money coming. Well, technically we didn't have the Sancho money coming because Chelsea theoretically could collapse and drop well down the table. I don't know math. I haven't looked at the math, so I'm not, because it's Chelsea, it's not United, so I don't care that much. But it's because I think it's only the option if they finish like 14th and above, right? I can't remember off the top of my head, but you guys let me know. Guys are having a fun little class of 92 chat right now. Then he says Naipan deal could have been done with obligation. Naipan deal should have been done in the summer, and we should have had him join us in January after Rosenborg's season was done. That would have been the ideal situation. He could have been in here early December, mid-December. He could have been training. He could have been ready by the time the January window started. But it is what it is. Darko says, did we do same judgment mistake with injuries as Arteta did? You can't, it's hard to plan for injuries unless you have injury prone players. How can you anticipate all these players getting injured literally in the same week? It's just hard to plan for that. You can't always have a full extra squad on hand in case you have injuries. You just got to hope for the best, unfortunately. Danny says, Tell was too much. Glad we didn't do it. And like Rever says, basically we're skint. Yes, we are skint. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, and a lot of people maybe don't want to believe it, but it's the fact. It's just the way it is. And it's, again, I see all sides. It's not Ineos's fault that we're skint, but I do believe as owners, when you come in, and they knew all this, you have to have a plan. You have to be proactive. You have to aggressively try to find ways to fix that, to get around it. So it is what it is. We should have planned a little better for the January window. I think obviously we needed, if we're going to lose two attackers especially, you have to try to do something. But it is what it is. Ineos made their bed, and just like managers, when they make decisions, there's consequences. So we'll see how it goes. I bet they're kicking themselves now. So Dylan says Chelsea finished top 14. They buy Sancho. Yeah, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember. I thought I saw some reports that wasn't actually the case, but I could not remember off the top of my head. Rever says, I think we'll buy a big striker this summer, and then that's it. A few cheap young buys. If that's it, Rever, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna put a punching bag next to the camera or over here, and I'm gonna spend the whole stream just punching it until I pass out from exhaustion. I'm so annoyed. Oh, you guys. Oh, don't go in on Darkro. He's all right. Rob says, Amorim has a full week of training and the players start breaking. The ankle ligament, I think I saw a report this morning that was the issue with the ankle was something that happened a few weeks ago. It probably just got worse. I have no idea what happened to everyone else. It's just completely random how everybody, all our midfielders are struggling. That's annoying, man. Danny says, I'll join you. Yeah, we'll have everybody join virtually. We'll all just start punching shit in the background. I'll send the link out. We'll all just start punching shit. So moving on to the big news that I was planning to do today, but obviously we spent a long time talking about that. Not a problem. I'm going to get water because it's really hot in here. It doesn't help that I'm wearing this warm-up. This thing it's a winter warm-up, so it's warm, but it is sick. I like this one. You guys can't see. It's got the It's got the AIG. I'm a big fan of this. I saw this on eBay and I had to have it. So big news broke last night. This was I woke up early this morning, saw a lot of this news, started putting together these notes, but we have an imminent appointment of a new financial director in the name of Marc Armstrong. So he has been the chief revenue officer and director of sponsorships for PSG since 2022. And where he also, during his time at PSG, he worked with our current director, Jean-Claude Blanc, when he was at PSG. And remember, Jean-Claude Blanc joined us last year when Ineos took over. Given our current financial climate, we've seen the club make a lot of drastic financial decisions in the last few months, especially left and right. Staff cuts, doing away with several ambassador roles, concessions, and certain ticket, raising like a certain percentage of the 33-pound tickets to 66 pounds. And again, it's not, they raised all ticket prices like the media will have you believe. It was 3% of a certain ticket bracket. Now, I'm not saying that because I'm cool with it. I'm not cool with it. You guys know that that's one thing I've always said is hands off raising ticket prices like that. But it's not everyone's paying. It's 3%, which again is stupid because how much does that actually make anyway? Anyway, besides the point. But what Marc Armstrong is going to do at United is going to handle the other side of that coin when it comes to cost cutting. There's the other side, which is increasing the revenue. So it's not just enough to cut costs by firing people and all that shit. You guys know I've said that. Find creative ways. Like I get in the short term, whatever, but you have to be a little bit more creative when it comes to the problem solving. But his job is going to be to increase revenues by increasing our partnerships and our brand exposure. So he was in charge of PSG's financial plan for the last few years. He has a proven track record of running the day-to-day commercial operations, and he comes highly rated as one of the best in the business at his job. And that's coming from Andy Mitten, and I've got time for Andy Mitten. So prior to his role at PSG, though, Armstrong worked with a number of organizations where his job, again, finances, increasing revenue streams, commercial side of things. Started his career with the FA in the late 90s. Where he served as the head of business development. And then 10 years later, he ended up joining an organization called Team, which is a sports marketing agency in Switzerland. And that agency actually helped build the Champions League and the Europa League into what it is today. And a lot of us are going to have thoughts on UEFA and the Champions League and stuff, but that's what he held a hand in. And then in 2010, he actually moved over to the States. He worked with the NFL as their commercial director. He worked with the NBA a few years later as their vice president of marketing partnerships. But he must have been good at that job because 2 years after he joined the NBA, he got promoted to vice president of global marketing and emerging markets. So again, the guy is all about expanding the brand, getting more partnerships, not just local, but globally. And we know United is the biggest club in the world. They're the most followed club, and we have the biggest fan base in the world. This is going to help. He was hired by PSG in 2018 as their chief partnership officer, and then he was promoted to his current role again just a few years later. So guy is all about helping the club make money, very similar to like what Ed Woodward is supposed to do. But as you can see, Armstrong's CV is a little bit more extensive and got a little bit more pristine to it, and it has more than just I know the Glazers written on it, for that matter, because we know that was literally all Ed Woodward's qualifications were. His job will basically entail not only working to find sponsors and whatnot, but also to take a proactive approach to find new and dynamic and emerging revenue sources. Not just like, hey, become a club sponsor, give us money, we'll put your name on the training kit, we'll put your name at the masthead on the website. It's not just all about that. It's a partnership. At PSG, he was key when it came to developing new methods of expanding that brand, creating those creative partnerships, and trying to extend PSG's reach into other areas like lifestyle. He secured a 3-year, €50 million partnership with GOAT, which is an online trainer marketplace, if you guys remember. And again, that worked out great for them because from a branding perspective, when you've got Lionel Messi wearing a kit with the word GOAT on it, that just pays for itself almost. That's a tap in as far as a marketing standpoint goes. In fact, in the 4 years since joining PSG, Armstrong helped the club establish 35 new sponsorship deals, only 2 of which were actually in France. So again, global reach. He's all about that global brand expansion and finding those commercial opportunities. Now, you guys may think this is boring Why should we care? If we care about the money, if we care about having money, if we care about reducing debt, you should care because this is going to help. I'm not trying to like sing this guy's praises. I'm just giving you the background of what this guy's all about. Like we said, it's a deep dive video like we always do with these new hires. Box says, Sean, you could do a job for Ineos. I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'll take it. Danny says, Alanga has done more in Prem in 18 months than Sancho. Well, yeah, I don't think Sancho's just cut out for it. It just is what it is. Darko says, I grew up with Class of 92, just got tired of hearing them in 2025, and we're currently so bad. My apologies. I take back my foolish comment. You're fine, Darko. Don't worry, man. Just don't ever badmouth the Class of 92 again. No, I'm just kidding. No, I get it. I think a lot of them now, like Neville's gotten a little better. Paul Scholes, a lot of his takes, I'm just like, you just, like I said the other day, like he got into this, whatever this online beef is with Lissandro Martinez, but some of Paul Scholes' takes since he's become like more of a pundit and a media personality have just been, I don't know if he really feels that way because I can't imagine that he actually does, but Danny says, well, we all done well in that department properly, so we spent poorly and Glazers pocketed the rest. Yeah, we're paying, when it comes to the debt, we've literally just only been able to pay the interest. We haven't even been able to pay off the debt. Like I said today, it's like a student loan at college. Like the interest rates on those are so high that most people can only afford to pay the interest rates and not actually whittle down the debt itself. And that's where we're at. And that's not on Ineos. Ineos have to come in and figure out how to get a handle on that. But again, you knew what you were getting into when you took over. It's on you. Like, what was the plan? Like, literally, what was the plan? Like, I don't get it. Just to roll that over into the next owners? Like, I don't get it. Again, unlike Ed Woodward and the Glazers, though, it does seem like Armstrong is adamant about performance on the pitch, and that the results will always be the priority. So speaking to Off the Pitch, an online outlet, a few years ago, Armstrong said this. Says, first and foremost, we are a football club, so what matters more than anything is the results on the pitch, like I just said. But obviously, the commercial success we have off the pitch is what ultimately helps drive success on the pitch. Again, you can't have one without the other. Now, statistically, if you read Soccernomics, statistically, there is a correlation between teams who have higher wage rates and stuff and teams who tend to pay more for players and success on the pitch. Now, I'm not saying we need to get to like Madrid levels, but I'm saying like you have to find that balance. The only way to get to that point where you can start thinking that, I know a lot of people are like, we're United, we should be signing the best. We can't afford the best right now. We have to make the best right now. We have to scout young players. We have to scout hidden gems. We have to do a better job of recruitment, and we have to turn these players into the best. We have to develop them like we used to, like we did with Ronaldo, like we did with the Class of 92, like we used to do. But you have to get money to do that, and part of that is getting the commercial side. Now, a lot of us as fans we won't see the commercial side, but this is part of it. Armstrong said, building this strong brand has helped us. He's talking about PSG, has helped us reach massive new audiences. It's a big part of why we've become one of the biggest clubs in the world. So again, it's all, like I said, since he joined, they have 35 new sponsorships. They signed that 50 million 3-year deal with GOAT. Only 2 of their sponsors are actually in France at PSG, so he's expanding it. Working with GOAT, for instance, was just as beneficial to that company as it was to PSG, even more so maybe. And this reminds me a lot of like what I did with Livonia City, because my job as a board member, I was in charge of the sponsorships. I took that on because I feel like it's something that I was good at. And not to big myself up, but I was good at it. I totally revamped their sponsorship deck. I added a ton of new options, and I got them sponsorships for the first time in a couple of years, including like shirt sponsorship. We did shirt sponsorships all over the place on the kit. It looked like a Liga MX kit by the time we were done with it. I got banners. I got all sorts of shit. But what helped is when I'm talking to these local businesses and whatnot, I don't just call them sponsorships. I call them partnerships, kind of like what this guy did. How can we help you? How can we make this mutually beneficial? How can, in my case, Livonia City, how can we help people get exposed to your brand? I put out, hey, give us a commercial video file. We'll air the commercial at halftime, because we were televised on like local thing, but we'll air the commercial at halftime. That kind of stuff is what I'm talking about. It's not just about giving money to a club. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement that is supposed to help the sponsor grow as well. GOAT in PSG's case, wanted to expand their brand outside of the US, and a partnership with PSG helped them do that. Whoever says Scholes was Mr. Quiet as a player, now can't shut his gab. Yeah, he's been holding it all in, right? He's just like, and now that he's got a camera in front of him, he's just blah. And some of it's fine, like, but some of it is just weird. Whoever says, yeah, Keane's favorite player was Hoddle. Darko says, you can laugh, but I admired Elanga more than Cavani. I mean, different players, different profiles, but I mean, fair play to Elanga. He's doing bits at Forest. He's got a lot of effort. I've seen him put more effort in for sure than Sancho ever did. But like you could say the same about Dan James. I think Dan James would thrive as a wingback in Amorim's system personally, but it is what it is. Liner says, he looks like if Giggs and Van Nistelrooy had a love child. Darko, sorry, that Nigerian we got on loan forgot his name. Igalo. Yeah, Igalo, yeah, as Bach says. Darko says he liked Igalo more than Cavani. Darko just coming out with the hot takes today. Y'all remember that goal that Igalo scored in the Europa League? Where was that now? Was it like Zoria Lynx or some shit? What was that team we played where he got that like volley, played keep up with himself and then shot it on the volley and scored? Do you guys remember that match? I remember the pitch. It looked like it was frozen solid. Box says, Igalo reminded me of Weghorst, living out a dream, playing for the club they supported, always put in the effort. Yeah, it is. I mean, I want more than effort at the end of the day, but Igalo, he may not have been the best striker, but he gave his all. Same as Weghorst. God bless Weghorst. I'll put it on my gravestone that I saw Wout Weghorst score a goal at Old Trafford for United. It wasn't in the league, but it was against Real Betis. But Darko says, even Tell loved playing for us. He went to Spurs because we let him down. I mean, he didn't play for us. I don't know how he could love playing for us. He wanted to come to us, according to reports. But Hakuna Matata, welcome back. How are you doing? And like he's saying, effort is not enough. Yeah, I wish effort was enough. I wish we could have 11 players with like the effort of McTominay, but the skill of like Bruno. But it's just not possible. You have to find a balance. At the end of the day, though, I think that any manager will tell you they'd rather have 11 McTominays than 11 Brunos. But hey, it is what it is. But big up for coming back, Hakuna Matata, no worries. Dylan says Igalo's goal was against Lask. Yeah, that's what it was. I couldn't remember. It was like Zoria, but yeah, Lask. I remember that goal. Europa League, man. Does anybody like the Europa League anthem more than the Champions League anthem? Like, I secretly like the Europa League anthem more. I don't like that it signifies that we're in the Europa League, but I think it just sounds cooler from a musical perspective. But maybe that's just me. But I always wonder about that sometimes. Secretly, when the Europa League anthem comes on, I'm like, whoa, whoa. But the Champions one, it doesn't hit the same. I mean, I shouldn't say it doesn't hit the same. From a musical standpoint, I like the Europa League. But when you're, like, for instance, when I was at Old Trafford for the Champions League and they play the Champions League anthem, that's goosebumps when that happens. That hits different when you're there at Old Trafford and you hear that anthem. Buck says, it's crazy that in a few days Spurs injury list has shrunk by 50%, while ours doubled by 50%. Yeah, unfortunately it does happen. I wish that the stars would align sometimes. It's just an unfortunate situation. I'm not gonna blame it on Amorim's training or anything like some people are already doing, or like some people did with Ten Hag, but it's just, we know the players aren't fit, and unfortunately these do sound like maybe just freak accidents, which is going to happen. I think there was a player, I forget where I saw this, maybe it was online on another YouTube channel, like some player in training like got kicked or something the other day. I forget what team it was, and now they're in a coma. I want to say it was Ajax. I can't remember though off the top of my head, but like stuff like that just randomly happens. I don't know how the training happens, but I know you got to put it 100% in training, but shit. Box says, I've grown to like the Europa League anthem. I mean, part of we're used to it now, right? Because we just play there every year. But Liner says, we could all do with a bit of Hakuna Matata after today, dudes. Yeah, maybe we'll just go watch The Lion King. Maybe it'd be a better way to spend 90 minutes than watching us get battered. Dylan says, the Europa League anthem hits better. I just like the Europa League. I don't know why. I don't know what the Conference League anthem sounds like because we've not been in there and I don't watch those games. So I have no idea. Is there even an anthem? Do they just put a logo on the screen and say, guys, like, we're not doing an anthem. You guys, do we really need to do this? Yeah, and as Rever says, injuries happen. They do happen. But like Box says, what's the Conference League anthem like? Exactly. Enough said. So on Armstrong, on some of the deals he worked with. So again, PSG, if you guys probably know, they also partner with the Jordan brand, so they've got the Jumpman logo, and that helped them extend their kit sponsorship deal with Nike, which is one of football's most lucrative sponsorship deals. So a few years ago, they also, under Armstrong's work, PSG also became the first European football club to open a permanent retail store in the U.S. So PSG have a permanent retail store in the U.S. I think it's in L.A. And then they added a second one shortly after that, and I think that one's in New York. So he was key in that. Now, I don't have a problem with that. He helped them achieve record revenues for 22-23. He's expected to start working at United in a couple of weeks. He'll probably work closely with Omar Barada. And so I think that he will have his like I said, his job is to figure out ways to make us money, plain and simple. He and Barada are going to work together. They're going to work on the commercial stuff, the football stuff. And again, I know a lot of fans, and I've seen it again, are probably going to be angry right now that we're hiring a new person amidst all these staff cuts. But this has actually been in place since September. Just because it's popping up now in February, again, the media like to do this. If you go back and look at some French outlets and some early English outlets, this was actually being talked about in early September. This was happening. It's gone under the radar since, but it has been likely in the works since late last spring, early summer as well. So it's not just like it just happened randomly. It's just the media decided to wait on it like they always do. So you guys are funny. Darko says, I missed the lion roar of the Premier League in the early 90s. Oh, man, I vaguely remember that. That was a long time ago, though. Queen Matata. Now, with all these injuries, time to sign Mbappe, Ronaldo, Vinicius. There you go. Well, Ronaldo just signed a new year-long deal with Al Nassr, and I think I'm done. Like Pogba, I'm kind of done with Ronaldo. He left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, I think, or most people anyway. Darko says, we won't even be in the Conference League next season. Honestly, it might be better if we take a season off from Europe. We don't need the extra hassle at this point. I don't want to, but right now, again, context is key. We might just need a season to get back to limping here. Obviously, it's a double-edged sword because, yes, from a fitness standpoint and from a performance standpoint, it would probably help. At the same time, from a financial standpoint, missing out on European football, not only will we miss out on that revenue, but Adidas is going to cut their sponsorship funding if we miss out on Europe again. So, Box says, hopefully we scam a trophy. It's all about the draw, Box. Depending on who we get in Europa League, it could be Sociedad, Akmar, Midtjylland, or Galatasaray. We could fluke our way to a final at least. Whoever says Sky Sports in England was better in the 90s. Yeah, until they took over. Remember when Sky tried to buy United? You remember that? Are you guys old enough to remember that? I'm not old enough to remember it. I'm old enough to remember reading about it a little later on, but I remember all that stuff. Yeah, like Danny says, more time in the training. I'm sure Amorim would be appreciative of that. Lionheart says, Sean, did you mean go? Yep, the Asian player. Forget, I think he's Japanese, right? Yep, that's the one. Good call, Lionhearts. I couldn't remember his name. It was Ajax, I believe, right? I can't remember now. Whoever says, now they all up in Man City and Liverpool ass. Yeah, exactly. Or maybe it was Bayern, Box. Was it Bayern or was it Ajax? I don't remember now. Let me know. So, again, I know a lot of fans won't care too much about the hiring of a new financial officer, but again, to reduce our debt more than just paying off interest payments, to fund a stadium build, because that's also what he was working with at PSG to help get a new stadium, because they don't own their stadium, the Parc des Princes. It's owned by the city of Paris, and so they want to own their stadium. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to buy the current stadium, so they're trying to figure out and he's going to help us with that as well, because that is a priority for us right now, because you will make a lot of money like that. To strengthen the squad as well by bringing in players and finding ways to do that. We have to, in order to do all that, we have to always be looking for ways to increase revenue streams, not just settling for what we have right now. Partnerships are a major part of that. We're the biggest club in the world. Hopefully, this guy will find ways to attract some diverse branding to get us more revenue streams in order to just continue to strengthen. No more Maui Gym sunglass sponsorships, no more freaking Melita coffee, no more cup noodles. I'm done with all this little small time shit. We need to get back to just a lot of different. If we can get 35 new sponsorships in a couple years, like he did at PSG, that will make a huge difference, and we'll see that reflected in the recruitment as well. What's everybody saying here? Danny says 1-1. What's 1-1? Palace equalizer. Oh, Palace. Who are Palace playing right now? Interesting. Bach says Glasner's effect on Mateta is crazy. He's turned him from a 1-7 striker to a 1-2 striker. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just some strikers are going to take a little bit of time to kind of get. And again, you guys know, like I said, it's not just about signing someone. It has a lot to do with the system that you're coming into and anything. And it could just be that match made in heaven. Lionheart says, yeah, Bayern. Okay, poor lad is brain dead. Remember Nori from Ajax a few years ago? Yeah, okay, so it was Bayern, not Ajax. I do remember Nori. We talked about that a while back when another player from Ajax had some heart issues, because I mentioned, like, I did a whole stream on this where there were like 3 or 4 players from Ajax who had the same exact issue. There was Nori, Daley Blind, Christian Eriksen, and then Mazraoui. Yeah, Mazraoui was having heart issues early in the season. So we talked about that then. Yeah, it was really weird. Nori is such a sad case. Now, this is why Donny van de Beek wears the number 34 when he was at Ajax and United, because Nori used to wear the number 34, and he and Donny van de Beek and Abi Nori are very good friends, and so it was a way to do that. Darko says, Sean, how does Pep blend his new signings so fast in his lineups and they are successful? Well, they're coming into a very well-oiled City machine, for one. That City side has been together, and Pep's been there for a very long time. You combine any of our managers in the last 10 years, we almost haven't had as many, like, in the last, Pep's been here for like 8-9 years now, and we haven't had managers for more than a couple years. So that does make a difference. Plus, you guys know, like, I don't think players need as much time to get acclimated as guys like Ten Hag seem to think. When Pep signed Kushinov and Marmoush, they were literally starting the very next match. And I don't have a problem with that. These guys are footballers. They've been playing. It's January. They're fit. Let them play. It's not that difficult to integrate players as some managers. And I don't know if it's just a fear thing from managers. I don't know if it's an ego thing from managers. If they're like, no, my system is so good, you shouldn't get it right away. You should need this much time. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I don't think that you have to take that long to start players. And so it made me annoyed when Ten Hag took so long to play Ugarte. It really did. But Danny says, yeah, Mateta is a little bit of a late bloomer. Some people are. Guys, remember that when you go in on Rasmus Højlund. Darko wants to know if anyone followed Rashford against Ipswich. I did not. I didn't watch that game. I was watching I had the City Newcastle game on in the background while I was trying to work out a little bit. Box says, didn't Van de Beek always wear the 34 shirt? Yep, that's what I was saying. Yep. Lionheart says, I was living in Holland at the time. The whole country was in shock. Yeah, that was, and I think his family in Ajax were trying to, they had the whole legal thing going on because it took so long for them to get help on the pitch when it happened. And he was literally, his brain was out without oxygen for a very long time because of how long it took. Danny says, it's talking to Palace game. Lionheart says, I was in Harlem just up the road from Amsterdam. It was a shame. I remember when Abi was playing, he was very highly rated, and you guys know I have a soft spot for Ajax, so it is a bummer. I also had a soft spot for Donny van de Beek. He was in FIFA. He was the one when I'd sell Pogba. He was the one I used to sign when he was at Ajax, because Donny van de Beek was immense in that Ajax side. It's a shame it didn't work out for him, but my thoughts on that are well documented. We'll see what you guys are saying in this poll right now. 83% of you want a Bruno Casemiro pivot. So does that mean Eriksen and Garnacho in the 10? Let me know. On a related note, in terms of finances and recruitment and all that, Jamie Jackson wrote this morning that the club is expected to make Christopher Vivell's position permanent. Now, remember, Christopher Vivell, integral with the Red Bull group over the last few years. He's on an interim basis right now. It sounds like we couldn't make that permanent, but we could be set to do that because Jackson reports that in the latest round of staff cuts that we could be set to lay off a lot of scouts as part of this rumored cut. So we employ up to 30 scouts full-time, according to Jamie Jackson, and that's globally, and about 50 that are on a part-time or casual basis. Scouting is, again, I've got a few books up here. Obviously, I've looked into it. scouting is there a bit of it is the old school. You got your flat cap, you've got your mug and your notebook, and you're driving early in the morning. You're watching youngsters play in the foggy like farmlands. Part of that still happens, but those guys are not. They're not full time. They're basically just pay as you scout kind of thing. It's a very casual basis. Now you do send scouts to watch players in other leagues. Obviously, we've had scouts in attendance at Sporting and whatnot. Those guys are on a little bit more of a full time basis, but most of it is moving towards a more data driven approach now. I'm never a fan of firing people. You guys know I don't want to fire people, and I think that some people don't help themselves in that regard. But I have to ask, like, has it seemed like we've actually used our scouts over the years? To me, it doesn't seem like we've actually done a whole lot of scouting. It seems like we rarely sign hidden gems. I'm not blaming the scouts for that because we know the scouts have recommended players and that the higher ups at United over the years have just, because they don't know football and they don't know what they're doing, they just turn them down. You know, Ragnick recommended several players and stuff. I think in terms of having a whole like 100 scouts, I'd rather have guys like Vivell, Wilcox, or even if Ragnick, if he were still here, I'd rather have these guys have their own small team and kind of have them working from a more data driven, a more insightful approach. And that's kind of what it seems like to me that we're moving more closer to. We've got the set piece coach is a more data driven guy and things like that. I think that scouts are good when you're looking at really, really young players, i.e., the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 year olds who are local in the academies and whatnot, and you're moving into the academies as youngsters from schoolboy age. I don't think when you're looking at players for the first team or players on the cusp of the first team that you necessarily have to have all these people watching them every single week personally. Um, Danny says, thumbs up to the Vivell appointment. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I like Vivell. I like that whole Red Bull kind of way that they've done. Obviously, Ragnick was also a big part of that. I wish we still had Ragnick. I would take him back in a heartbeat. I would crawl on my hands and knees to bring back Ralph Ragnick if I could. Liner says, Van de Beek was a great talent. We didn't need him. I never understood that signing, and unfortunately, we ruined his career. Yeah, I do blame Ollie a lot for that. I don't think Ollie wanted him. I don't think Ollie knew how to use him, and I don't think Van de Beek suited the way that Ollie plays. Ollie played counterattacking football. Van de Beek is not that. And he only got minutes late on the games, and whenever he did actually get more minutes, he was always playing with, again, the squad players and not the starting 11. He never got a chance. I think, oddly enough, he would do very well in the current system as one of these 10s because he does play a lot in these channels. He does make a lot of those runs into the half spaces. It's just, it is what it is. I feel bad for Donnie, but Danny says, we better have some scouts present at the Under-20 South American Cup. I'm sure pretty much every major club will. If they're not, then they can't. To me, they can't consider yourself a major club if you don't have scouts in attendance. Danny says, our scouts revered João Gomez in first January window under Eric Ten Hag. We signed Sabitzer on loan, and Wolves bought João Gomez. Yeah, again, we were cheap. We got Weghorst. We lost 2 midfielders. We lost Van de Beek. We lost Eriksson to major injuries, and then Cristiano Ronaldo threw his little temper tantrum. So we lost our striker and 2 midfielders, and we got Sabitzer, who I like. I like Sabitzer. I don't think he's as good as João Gomez, but I like Sabitzer. And then we got Weghorst, both of whom were on loan. When again, I've said it many times, and it's no point in going back, but like we could have tried to convince like Marcus Thuram to come in January. He was available on free in the summer. We could have spent like 10 million to get him in January on a permanent move, and we could have had our striker signing for the next 5 years. But it is what it is. Danny says Caicedo was another one that was referred. Yeah, Ragnick referred Julian Alvarez, Caicedo, João Gomez, and they said no to all these guys. It's just, what are you going to do? Rever says, what happened to Ashworth's database of players? I mean, it doesn't sound like we really trusted Ashworth's opinion, so we kind of let him go. But on that article on Vivell, though, I did find it convenient because, again, you got to pay attention to who's writing, how they're writing. But it's convenient, though, that Jackson only put one sentence at the very end of that article on this about all these staff cuts and whatnot. He put one sentence at the very end in a little blurb way underneath all the ads. You have to keep scrolling to see it, but one sentence on how Sir Jim has invested 300 million of his own cash into the club so far. Not even been here a year, invested 300 million of his own into the club, something that the Glazers have never even come close to doing. I'd be surprised if the Glazers spent $3 on a bottle of water at the club ever. Like, if you've gone to Old Trafford and you've bought a bottle of water at the concession, you spent more on this club than the Glazers ever have. It's just the way it is. So Lionheart says, are there any half-decent attacking players as free agents? Free agents right now? I mean, Maxi Gomez is a free agent right now. Striker, used to play in, I want to say Sevilla, Valencia. I can't remember now. He's only like 27, 28. I wouldn't say he's like world-class, but he is a striker. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I can look it up, though, while we're live real quick, because that's what we do. Football free agents. Let me see what Transfer Market has to say right now. Don't you guys love we just do all this live? Ben Yedder, he's half decent, right? But he's pretty old. He represents another one of those, like, I think a Woodward kind of a signing, though. Wissam Ben Yedder. Let me see. Nobody really jumping out. You can go get Brandon Williams if you want. Isaac Success, remember that guy? Wasn't he at Wofford for a little bit? Again, Maxi Gomez, 28 years old, center forward, Uruguayan. Nobody really that maybe a whole lot of us might have heard of, to be honest, besides those guys. No. Mariano Diaz. You can go get Mariano Diaz if you want, River. Yeah, nothing else, honestly. Rever says, we'll continue to buy cheap until we can lower the wage bill. Yeah, we'll continue to buy cheap until we can sell players, basically. Rever says, Angel Gomez will be free. He will. Be interesting to see. I know we were linked to them a little bit of time, but Rever says, water with no bottle tops allowed in Old Trafford. Interesting. Lionheart says, I don't see United tapping into the free agent market, unfortunately. If we're not tapping into at least some people who are going to be free agents in the summer, then we're not doing a good job as a club, personally. Usman says, oh, yes, how are you, Usman? Good to see you again. We're pretty much just wrapping up, buddy. I'm not sure why this is so dark. The light is literally turned all the way up, but it is what it is. The computer that I'm streaming on needs to be updated, so maybe that has a role in it. Maybe it's not hanging right now, but you guys let me know your thoughts on this new chief financial officer. Let me know your thoughts on potentially Christopher Vavell being made permanent addition to the staff in terms of recruitment and scouting goes. Let me know your thoughts on the major injury blows again, as Ugarte and Collier look like doubts for tomorrow. Mainu will probably miss the next couple weeks. And, of course, the big news, Amad Diallo is done for the season with an ankle ligament injury. When it rains, it pours. Not the best timing at all. And, again, it's no one's fault. It just is what it is. So that is the news of the day, though, as we do the Man United News Roundup. Obviously, we play Spurs tomorrow. Dylan, if you're still watching, I'm probably not going to try to drive the loaded dice because it is just going to keep snowing, and I'm not really in the mood for that business. But give him my best if you do show up. And until next time, guys, please hit the like button for me. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know the Palace match is still going on. But until then, I will see you guys, what time? Maybe tomorrow night, maybe Monday. We'll see how the day goes. But until then, thank you for stopping by. It's great to talk to you guys, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later.